You know, we've landed on the moon. We've built skyscrapers that literally scrape the clouds. And yet, the Great Pyramid of Giza, a 4,500-year-old structure, still kind of mystifies modern engineers. So that got me thinking, what would it actually take to build it today?
And that's really the core question we're tackling. Could our 21st century tech, all our know-how, replicate this ancient masterpiece? Well, the answer? It's a lot more complicated and way more expensive than you'd probably guess.
First, let's just try to wrap our heads around the sheer scale of this thing. We're talking about a structure as tall as a 40-story skyscraper. The base covers 10 football fields. It weighs 6 million tons, and it's made of 2.3 million stone blocks, with some of the heaviest ones weighing up to 80 tons. That's not a building, that's a man-made mountain.
But here's the thing. The very first roadblock we'd hit, it isn't about stone or money or technology. It's about purpose. It's the why. The ancient Egyptians had this incredibly powerful religious drive to build these tombs for their pharaohs. What possible reason could we have today to pour that kind of energy and resources into a project like this?
Okay, but let's just say we find a reason. Let's do it. Well, the first step is the groundwork. And as you're about to see, just preparing the site is a mega project all on its own, with a price tag that is just staggering. To put this into perspective for you, the foundation has to be strong enough to hold up the weight of 6 million cars. 6 million, think about that. Even the tallest building on Earth, the Burj Khalifa, only weighs about 8% of what this one pyramid does.
And that is exactly why the foundation is absolutely everything. The ancient Egyptians actually learned this lesson the hard way with something called the bent pyramid. They built it on shaky ground, it started to crack, and they literally had to change the angle halfway up. That's a mistake you just can't afford to make.
So getting the base perfectly level is non-negotiable. The ancients had this brilliant method using water channels. Today, of course, we'd bring in laser leveling and GPS-guided bulldozers. And the goal here is to get all 13 acres flat, down to the millimeter, because even a tiny mistake at the bottom becomes a huge glaring tilt at the very top.
So what's the bill for all of that? For the land, the permits, the geological surveys, the leveling, and a 4-meter thick slab of reinforced concrete? You're looking at a cool $550 million. And get this, we haven't even cut a single block of stone yet.
All right, so the foundation is finally ready. Now we have to face an even bigger monster, quarrying and cutting a literal mountain of stone.
Let's just say that number again because it's hard to process. 2.3 million. That is how many individual blocks of stone we need to cut. Every single one is a multi-ton piece of this gigantic puzzle. Okay, and here's where the timeline just gets insane. If you had one modern, super efficient factory cutting, say, 100 blocks a day, it would take 63 years to finish the job. So to hit our target of 5 years, we would need to cut, finish, and prep 1,260 blocks every single day. The only way you could possibly do this is with an absolutely massive industrial operation. We're talking about 250 industrial-grade diamond wire saws, all running at the quarry, 24/7. Just the saws alone cost $75 million. And the stone itself? A budget-shattering $1.5 billion.
And what about the power to run all of this? Well, those saws would be sucking down 20 megawatts of electricity continuously. That is enough energy to power a small city. Over 5 years, that electricity bill alone comes to $155 million.
So, we've got our blocks. Now, we have to move them. At this point, this thing isn't just a construction project anymore. It has become the single largest transport operation in all of human history.
Let's just remind ourselves of the sheer weight here. 6 million tons of stone. And it's not like the quarry's right next door. The really good granite, that has to come from Aswan, which is 900 kilometers away.
So if we use our biggest heavy-duty trucks, the ones that carry about 25 tons, you're looking at a jaw-dropping 240,000 separate truckloads.
What does that even look like in reality? It means that for 5 years straight, there would be a constant, non-stop convoy of 500 trucks on the road at all times, just to keep the site supplied. The logistics are mind-bending. And the cost? Another $200 million.
The stones are arriving, but now comes the most dangerous, the most technically difficult phase of this whole thing, lifting every single one of those blocks and placing it with perfect accuracy.
So here's the big engineering riddle. What kind of crane can lift one of those 80-ton granite blocks, you know, the ones for the king's chamber, all the way to the top of a 147-meter-tall building?
And the answer is, there isn't one. It's a simple law of physics, really. The farther a crane's arm has to reach out, the less weight it can safely lift. So, for the shape and height of a pyramid, a single crane solution is just physically impossible.
The only way to do it would be with a whole network of giants. We're talking a fleet of at least 10 of the world's largest, most specialized tower cranes. And here's the crazy part. As the pyramid gets taller, you'd have to take these giant machines apart and rebuild them higher and higher up on the structure itself. It would be an incredibly dangerous and expensive process.
We're almost there. The pyramid is built, but it doesn't look quite right yet. We still need to add the finishing touches and, of course, calculate the final, mind-blowing cost. You see, the original pyramid wasn't this rough, stepped thing we see today. It was completely covered in 115,000 polished, white limestone blocks that made it gleam in the sun for miles around. To replicate that perfectly smooth, shining surface today, that'll be another $250 million, please.
So, let's add it all up. You've got the site prep and the foundation. That's $550 million. The stone itself is $1.5 billion. Then you have transport, electricity, all those cranes, and labor for about 3,000 workers. It all starts to add up to a truly enormous number.
The grand total comes to at least, and I really mean at least, $2.95 billion. And that's not even counting things like taxes, road tolls, or the cost of building a dedicated power plant, which you'd almost certainly have to do. We're easily talking over $3 billion.
And this really brings us to a powerful idea. Something the famous archaeologist Zahi Hawass said. The whole point wasn't just to build a tomb. The project itself organized an entire workforce. It spurred innovation. It unified a nation around one single goal. In a way, the act of building the pyramid is what created ancient Egypt as we know it.
And that leaves us with one final thought. So, could we build it today? Yeah, probably. But should we? In our world full of so many practical needs, spending nearly $3 billion on a monument with no real function seems, well, pretty impossible to justify. Which leads to the real question. If we were to build a monument to our civilization today, what would it, or what should it, even be?